now time for a question period. I recognize the Leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, Speaker. And I want to say how moved I am to see so many people here in the gallery today defending democracy. Yesterday, the minister changed his tune and started blaming civil servants for his own mess with the Skills Development Fund. Up until now, he has stood in this chamber and he has justified hand-picking low-scoring applicants to that fund because they met his government's so-called priorities, Speaker. And let me just say this. It was not civil servants, Speaker, that were sitting in rinkside seats at a Leaf game with executives or sipping champagne in Paris with lobbyists who cashed in, or raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars in political donations. It was this Minister of Labour, Speaker. Yes. So to the Premier, why is this Minister of Labour blaming civil servants when he clearly made the decision to reward Keel Digital Solutions?
Recognize the Minister of Labour.
Speaker, that's incorrect. Speaker, our ministry officials play a critical role in safeguarding the integrity of the Skills Development Fund, and together we've built strong backstops, Speaker. Being responsible for applicant approvals, which I am, Speaker, is not in contradiction with having important stopgaps in place, Speaker. It highlights the robust internal risk assessment processes we have for this program, Speaker. When that member talks about these projects, what she's saying is projects that are supporting our first responders, Speaker, with better training, better mental health support, Speaker, projects supporting the Carpenters Regional Council and the joint application they submitted for all of their locals across Ontario that are helping a next generation of skilled tradesmen and women. It's not surprising they don't support them because they don't support building. They don't support building the critical infrastructure that we're building, Speaker. Whether it's new nuclear, whether it's highways, roads, bridges, they vote against every measure, Speaker.
To the Leader of the Opposition.
Back to the Premier, Speaker. This minister went on live radio and he bragged about hand-picking Keel Digital Solutions and their like, right? The Toronto Star, they got their hands on the government scorecards and they have confirmed it. They have confirmed it. Low-scoring applications like Keel received bigger payouts than the higher-scoring applications. The Auditor General confirmed that civil servants were overruled routinely by this minister and his political staff. So is the minister blaming civil servants simply because the company is now under police investigation?
Minister of Labour.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, as I said, being responsible for applicant approvals, which I am, and having a stopgap procedure in place is not in contradiction to one another, Speaker, but rather speaks to the important processes we have in place, Speaker. What that member is against, Speaker, is against supporting first responders with better training through our Skills Development Fund. What she's against and what she's highlighted is Carpenters Regional Council. Or let's talk about the operating engineers, another project highlighted in that article, Speaker. Operating engineers for the cranes in the skyline. We wouldn't have any cranes if it was up to them, Speaker. They don't want to build. They're against Highway 413. They're against the Bradford Bypass. Just this week, I was at Union Station, where we saw cranes in the air making improvements to our Metrolinx fleet, Speaker. They're against those measures. They don't support our public transit expansion, but they have an opportunity to support us with the fall economic statement, to invest in infrastructure, invest in better training. I hope they'll take that chance.
Final supplementary, the Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, first he's hiding behind unions, dragging their names through the mud. Now he's hiding behind workers in the civil service. The one thing this minister will not do is take responsibility for the mess that he has created. I have been asking these questions for 5 weeks now, and the Premier doesn't even do us one and get up and answer a question, Speaker. Bills are being rammed through this legislature. It is the donors and the lobbyists that are connected to this government. It is the strip clubs and the numbered companies. It is the endless grift of a anti-democratic and, yes, corrupt government.
I will ask. Order. 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 I will ask the member to withdraw. I will ask the member to withdraw.
Speaker, I will not.
I am warning the member. The member has been named. You will have to leave the chamber. Order. I recognize the member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Thank you, Speaker. Yesterday, student trustees elected by their peers to represent them were very clear. Students do not want Bill 33 to pass. They do not want to have their voices and perspectives shut out of decisions about their education. They do not want government appointees who ignore them. What they want is investments to support programs, provide mental health supports, and ensure schools are safe. Will the Premier listen to Ontario students and vote no on Bill 33?
I recognize the Minister of Education.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Listen, I think when I speak to students, what they tell me is that they want the highest quality of education possible. They want the opportunity to succeed. What they don't want, Madam Speaker, is a system that puts them at conflict with their teachers, that puts parents at conflict with their teachers. What they don't want is trustees who go out into the community and sow dissension in favour of their own pet projects. Madam Speaker, I am hopeful and I'm very confident that in a very short while, Bill 33 will pass this legislature, and we will have the opportunity to once again put the Ontario education system on the right path, building on the successes of previous ministers to ensure that not only are our students succeeding, but our teachers have the resources that they need to give our students the ultimate opportunity to succeed, not only for today, but for tomorrow.
Back to the member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Well, if this government won't show students some respect, Speaker, perhaps they'll respect parents, because they've also been very clear. In just 19 hours, and despite this government's attempt to sneak Bill 33 into law without parents having any chance to say what they think about it, more than 55,000 people across the province sent government MPPs emails asking them not to support this bill. Parents don't want to lose their right to have a say. They don't want decisions to be made in the dark behind closed doors. They don't want hand-picked Conservative insiders who are paid $350,000 a year to ignore them. Right. Will the Premier listen to parents and vote no on Bill 33?
Minister of Education.
Guilty, Madam Speaker. I sneakily introduced this 7 months ago and put it on the order paper. And sneakily, I went across the entire province and met with hundreds of parents and hundreds of teachers. I sneakily went and met with school board chairs. I met with the Police Association. I'm telling you what we're going to do, Madam Speaker. What the NDP is doing, what the Liberals are doing, is they're supporting a system that was created in the one-room schoolhouse era. You know what has to happen? We have to reinvigorate our school system, building on the successes of previous ministers to bring our curriculum back in order. In a very short period of time, members will be able to get up in this House and vote in favour of Bill 33. And what that will allow us to do is put school boards back on track when they go off the rails. What the NDP and the Liberals want me to do is allow a board to collapse before I step in to the benefit of parents. I won't do that. I'm going to step in earlier. We'll put boards back on track and put students, parents, and teachers first. No matter how much they whine and complain, we'll get it done for the students.
Back to the member for Ottawa West Nepean.
this government isn't going to show students some respect, if they're not going to show parents some respect, perhaps they will show workers some respect, Speaker. Because yesterday, teachers and education workers were also here with a clear message for this government. Bill 33 is not the solution to the challenges teachers and education workers are facing. It's a distraction from the real issues. This government's $6 billion funding cut to education, which means that workers are paying out of pocket for basic supplies in crowded classrooms in unsafe schools. The minister's appointees have also made it very clear that they do not think collective bargaining agreements need to be respected, despite the fact that collective bargaining is a charter-protected right. Yes. Will the Premier respect the people who work in our schools every single day and vote no on Bill 33? Yes.
Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, listen, I am going to not only hope that all my colleagues vote in favour of Bill 33, I know full well that the parents, teachers and students across this province are excited by what Bill 33 allows us to do. And not only, Madam Speaker, not only does it allow us to bring back our police back into the schools to ensure that our schools can be safer, but she talks about the supervised boards. Let's talk about her own community. Let's talk about her own community. We have a supervisor who's putting the board back on track. She talks about trustees. What she doesn't talk about is the fact is that trustees in Ottawa and the Ottawa Carleton Board, their budget is $1.4 million, Madam Speaker. The budget, their expenses alone were over $440,000, Madam Speaker. And when they had an opportunity last May to do something about it, they hid the report from the people, said, we don't want to talk about it because if people find out how much we're spending, they will be angry with us. So let's continue to spend and let the chaos continue. But what we did is put them back on track, and we did that for parents, students, and teachers.
Question. I recognize the Leader of the Third Party.
And I was at my apartment last night, and I was thinking about Christmas. And I remember a Christmas that I was about 7 years old, and I got into my mom's chocolate chips that she'd bought for baking cookies. And I ate a lot. I ate a lot, guys. And then I tried to blame it on my sister. I said it was Missy. But my mom was smart. She didn't buy it. But, kids learn. You learn that you take responsibility and you don't try to blame others. But apparently the minister didn't have the same Christmas experience that I had, and he tried to blame the deputy yesterday for the rot that is the Skills Development Fund. So my question to the minister is, why didn't he learn that lesson, and why is he still in his job?
Minister of Labour.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, that's incorrect. Speaker, what I illustrated yesterday and what I will again illustrate today is that being responsible for application approvals, which I am, and having a stopgap and procedures in place, working with our valued ministry officials, is not in contradiction. It's something we do together to continue to strengthen the integrity of this program, something I've outlined. Speaker, this program is supporting our first responders with better training, Speaker. This program is supporting men and women in our construction sector who are on the front lines of building. It's supporting breaking down barriers for newcomers to receive training to enter the workforce. And we're proud of it, Speaker. I spoke about the Carpenters Project. I spoke about operating engineers in my previous answer. I'll also speak about incredible training I saw with LUNA Local 183. I met Lewis, who's a graduate of Oaks Revitalization. Instead, he's now, thanks to those skills, paying taxes, a proud member of 183, and he's working on the BridgeCon project on Rosedale Valley Road. That's what we're doing, Speaker. We're actually building real things.
Back to the Leader of the Third Party.
Let's think about this. The civil servants scored the project low because as the company is going to buy the software from itself, which is, if anybody doesn't know, it's called in and out. That's what we call that. That's an in and out. And so they said, don't do it. But the minister decided to override it. Not the deputy, not anybody else, maybe the premier, but it was the minister, right? So I don't know why he's forgot that he did that, because his friend was lobbying for the company that he overrode the advice of the public servants. So there's something called ministerial responsibility, Minister.
Through the Speaker.
Why aren't you taking that now?
Through the Speaker. Back to the Minister of Labour.
Absolutely accept that, Speaker. And I said being responsible for applicant approvals is something I am. But, Speaker, also having stopgap procedures, robust procedures in place, working with ministry officials isn't contradiction. They work complementary, Speaker. And that's the value of this program, Speaker. We're continuing to improve it, Speaker. We're making investments in building a stronger Ontario, in nation building at a time when we're seeing uncertain economic headwinds, when workers want to know that we're going to be able to build the critical infrastructure we need. SMRs alone. I mean, we heard in the fall economic statement, the SMRs alone, 18,000 workers. These are 18,000 workers. They don't have a plan for those workers. We do. We're expanding training across Ontario, investing in unionized training halls, non-unionized training, investing in our colleges, expanding our construction spots so that young men and women in this Ontario can have a future, can join an apprenticeship, can build an Ontario that they didn't build. They didn't build any long-term care homes. They didn't build hospitals. In fact, they closed schools in communities like mine. We're building.
Back to the Leader of the Third Party for parliamentary.
Well, first of all, you don't have a youth jobs plan, so I don't think I'd be touting that you're really working hard. You're too busy on skills development and rewarding friends and insiders. So the deputy could have stood on the tracks, but he wasn't going to stop the Premier's gravy train. You know, that gravy train that rewards insiders, lobbyists like Corey Tenike, Nico Fidani-Dyker, Michael Diamond. We could list more and more and more. You're so connected. So each time this minister overrode a low-scoring proposal, he was adding another car to the gravy train. So I'll ask the minister again, does he understand what ministerial responsibility is, what that means, and why the heck is he still sitting in that seat as that minister?
Minister of Labour.
Absolutely, Speaker. It means sitting around a cabinet table and talking about SMRs, talking about new nuclear, and making sure I have a plan to train the workers to achieve that. The carpenters, the labourers, the steam fitters, the pipe fitters, the operating engineers. That's what my role is, Speaker, and I've highlighted the steps we've taken with this program to strengthen its integrity. I take ministerial responsibility, and having important stopgaps in place, working with ministry officials is not a contradiction. It speaks to the strength of this program. Adding financial audits, something I did, Speaker. Integrating it into our employment management system so we can track long-term outcomes for the men and women building the SMRs, for the men and women building new nuclear, Speaker, for the men and women on the front lines of our northern strategy to unlock critical minerals. He mocked it, Speaker. He invoked his wife, all sorts of things to do anything but actually talk about the strategy for the north that's unleashing prosperity, that's going to drive a stronger Ontario that can stand on the world stage and be self-sufficient. That's the Ontario we're building, Speaker.
Question, Leader of the Third Party.
Thanks, Speaker. And I know we're not sitting tonight because it's the Premier's Skills Development Gala, right? And so, which is, I guess, in Etobicoke, it's $15,000 a table, and that'll get you some rubber chicken. We'll say a good speech. And then you will get passage on the Premier's gravy train. That $2.5 billion gravy train. Destination, the Premier's special $2.5 billion Friends and Family Resort. So besides the rubber chicken and the good speech, or maybe it'll be a great speech, is it true, Minister, that there are actually skills development applications at each place setting?
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, Speaker, we come to this place to talk about policy, to debate ideas to make a stronger Ontario, Speaker. A stronger Ontario programs we're implementing to increase our youth registration and apprenticeships. And I'm pleased to say, Speaker, it's working.
Member for Don
It's
Valley
working
North.
for the young men and women entering our trades to build a stronger Ontario, Speaker. It's working our plan to lower taxes to attract investment, Speaker. We're not immune from economic headwinds. We're not. But what the folks of this province can count on is that we've got a Premier who will stand up for first responders, who will get tough on crime, Speaker. respect the law and order, a premier that's going to build Ontario, unlock our critical minerals, build new nuclear.
Order.
They didn't have a hydro plan. It was just increase the rates on Granny and on Mum and Dad. That was their energy plan. We're building new nuclear. We're building new SMRs. In fact, Speaker, we're selling those SMRs to the world all the while ensuring Ontario is an attractive destination for foreign investment. That's going to create jobs. That's our plan.
Back to the Leader of the Third Party.
I think it's fair to stand up when the government's shoveling millions and millions out the door to friends and insiders and lobbyists and donors with no strings attached. I think that's a fair question, Minister. So a report in the Toronto Star said that the lowest scoring applications got the highest payouts. Well, Premier, this isn't the skills development golf tournament. You don't get more because you scored less. That's not the way that life works. So obviously there's some unwritten category that we don't see the scoring on. Or maybe we do, we just have to check the donor list. That's the place where we have to look. So, Minister, life just doesn't work that way. So the rot that is this $2.5 billion Premier's Club, right, is something that you have responsibility for, Minister. Take responsibility.
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, it's incorrect. I mean, there's transfer payment agreements full of all of these accountability measures, and let's talk about some of the projects he's referencing. He doesn't want to actually name them, Speaker. He doesn't want to name operating engineers. He doesn't want to name carpenters, Speaker. Their project that's supporting their locals all over Ontario, Speaker. He doesn't want to name them because he doesn't support building. He had an opportunity to put cranes in the air. He had the opportunity to train the next generation of crane operators, heavy equipment operators. They didn't take up the mantle because they didn't build. They didn't build a stronger Ontario. They watched while apprenticeships declined. They pulled trades out of our high schools. We're bringing it back. We're bringing back trades classes in our high schools. We're investing in new machinery. We're supporting new training in every corner of this province that's giving people real hands-on experience to join a trade, a career for life. Speaker, we're proud of that because those are the key building blocks to building a stronger Ontario.
Leader of the Third Party.
So, you know, I think we're at the point right now, if the minister said it's 3 o'clock, we'd all be checking our watch, right? Because it's unbelievable that the minister can say that when he gave money to a company that was already in a forensic audit. So did the Minister of Training, College and University, and so did the Minister of Health. What the heck is going on over there? So we weren't born yesterday. And this, $2.5 billion Premier's Club that has its special rewards program, known as the Skills Development Fund. The members you'll see them there all tonight. The donors, the insiders, the lobbyists, like Nicole Fidani-Dyker, Amin Massoudi, Michael Diamond. And then he won't be giving the speech tonight, but the shadow premier, the man behind the curtain, Corey Tenike, maybe he's the mastermind behind all this, will be there. So how does this government actually justify the people who scored the lowest doing the absolute best? Give us a good reason.
Minister of Labour.
House Speaker, I sit around a cabinet table and I look to a Minister of Infrastructure making a $200 billion commitment. I look to a Minister of Energy building SMRs and new nuclear. And my job is to make sure we're supporting programs that ensure a next generation of men and women who can work on the front lines. Speaker, the other day I was at OPG. I got the privilege to join a graduation ceremony for millwrights, Introduction to Millwrighting. Their Pathways program is doing incredible work getting a next generation of young millwrights, Speaker. I met a young lad from Port Hope, from Cobourg, from Hiawatha First Nation in my own community. They're excited to be on the front line. We stand with these workers, and these workers stand with us. And they stood with us in the last election, Speaker, because they know when it comes to building a stronger Ontario, massive nation-building projects that will put their members to work, they can count on this Premier and this government.
Recognize recognize the member for London West.
Thank you very much, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Speaker, organizations that represent Ontario college and university students are united in their opposition to Bill 33. CFS Ontario, USA, CSA, and OSV have all strongly urged this government to stop its attack on students and student services. They know that Bill 33 will mean the loss of vital student-run programs that students themselves have said are urgently needed, like campus food banks, mental health peer supports, accessibility services, and more. Will the Premier listen to post-secondary students and vote no to Bill 33?
Minister of Colleges and Universities.
Thank you, Speaker. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government has taken another step to promote fairness, transparency, and integrity across the province's post-secondary sector. That's why if Bill 33 is passed, we're going to require colleges and universities to make fees transparent to students and their families so they understand detailed breakdowns of how the tuition fees are being used. As well, we're going to make sure that merit-based admissions are clearly articulated to all students. On top of that, we want to make sure that research security plans are clear and secure moving forward, Speaker. But as we always have, we're going to consult with the sector once and if Bill 33 is passed to ensure that the regulations are implemented in a way that does not disrupt the delivery of Ontario's world-class education and supports that students rely upon. Speaker, unlike the previous Liberal government, we will always stand up for the students and the hardworking families that get
Response. Member for London West.
Thank you, Speaker. The minister should be aware that student fees are already transparent and that students are already admitted on the basis of merit. Meanwhile, our post-secondary sector is in crisis. Hundreds of programs have been cut. Entire campuses are closing. Almost 10,000 jobs have been lost at Ontario colleges.
Order.
Services are being reduced in academic counselling, career services, work-integrated learning. 80,000 domestic students won't be able to get a seat at an Ontario university because the government isn't providing the funding. Meanwhile, youth unemployment is at record highs and post-secondary students are struggling to pay tuition, rent, and groceries. Why is this government pushing ahead with bad legislation that is only going to make it harder for young people to succeed in this province?
Minister of Colleges and Universities.
Through you, Speaker, I'm not too sure why that member has an issue with transparency. You know, I've heard from students, I've heard from families. They want transparency and they really want to understand where their ancillary fees are going, Speaker. But, you know, that member mentioned 80,000. Let's mention the 100,000 new funded seats that we brought online through Budget 2025. That member voted against that budget, Speaker. $750 million went to 20,000 newly funded STEM seats, Speaker, on top of $75 million for construction-related seats, 7,800 new seats for construction, and another 2,200 new seats for nursing, a $56 million investment, on top of the 2,600 new seats that we have for teachers. Speaker, we're going to continue being there for the sector, but we'll continue bringing new seats online like the 100,000 newly funded seats we just brought through Budget 2025.
Response.
Speaker, I wish that member would support our budget, support our legislation, because we're going to ultimately continue to be there for the sector and understand where the fees are being used.
I recognize the member for Canada-Carleton.
Thank you, Speaker. This past constituency week, I had the pleasure of speaking with students, and it reminded me that people learn at different speeds and in different ways. So I'm going to help the government, and I'm going to make a few things perfectly clear for them. Training workers is good. Manipulating funding to reward donors and friends, bad. Having clear process and priorities, good. A minister interfering to favour low-scoring applications, bad. More women in construction trades, good. Giving millions of dollars to a strip club owner, bad. Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity, what kind of economic opportunity does she expect women to find in a strip club?
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, let's talk about opportunity. Good opportunity for young men and women of this province, Speaker. People do learn at different paces, different rates, etc. Something they failed to recognize when they held the balance of power in this place, Speaker. Speaker, they closed schools in every corner of this province. They shut down trades programming to empower the very women she claims to want to support, Speaker. But the reality of the matter is we're breaking down those barriers for young men and women to enter rewarding careers, whether it's in hospitality, a training worker centre where we went just the other day with Unite Here, Speaker. Majority women, we're supporting them with training through the Skills Development Fund, Speaker. Or whether it's young women registering for apprenticeships. The facts of the matter is stats matter, and our stats are up for young women registering apprentices. They watched while those numbers dwindled under their leadership. Under Premier Ford, we're expanding those opportunities, creating meaningful opportunities for young men and
Member for Kanata-Carleton.
Thank you, Speaker. Well, it looks like the minister knows that this is indefensible.
Yep.
My question, once again, to the Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity. How is giving tens of millions of taxpayer dollars to a strip club owner the best we can do for young women in this province?
The Minister, Associate Minister of Women's Economic and Social Opportunity.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's very troubling as a woman who has agency over her own body to hear the Liberals come across and say that.
Shame.
You know, it's really troubling. Sex work is work, and we shouldn't be discriminating against women in the work that they have to do or choose to do in order to stay safe. But our government is investing heavily to ensure that women have the support and the resources to ensure that they can get work in Ontario. We just announced over $8 million to women-serving organizations that are training women in the trades through the Skills Development Fund. Our government funds over 58 organizations that are helping women get into jobs that pay well. We are making extreme changes because we know that when women are financially independent, women are safer. And women are a major, major impact to our economy. So I think it's very disappointing that the members opposite are chirping the work that we're doing to make sure women have opportunities and resources, something that the Liberals did not do when they were in government.
Question. I recognize the member for Glengarry, Prescott Russell.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Energy and Mines. Speaker, people across Ontario are worried about growing economic threats. They see rising tensions, they see tariff risk, and they see the danger that Donald Trump's decision could pose on our workers and industries. Speaker, our government is taking real steps to protect Ontario. We are building new reactors. We are training more workers. We are growing our clean energy leadership so we can stand strong no matter what happens outside of our borders. These are nation-building projects that protect jobs and keep our province secure. Speaker, can the minister explain how advancing Ontario's energy leadership is helping protect workers and keep our economy strong?
Before I recognize the minister, can we keep the sidebar conversations down a little bit? Just lower the volume. Thank you. I recognize the Minister of Energy.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the member from Glengarry, Prescott Russell, for the question, and appreciate fully that we've been doubling down on our nuclear advantage in Ontario. It started a few weeks ago in Nova Scotia when the Premier of Nova Scotia signed a deal with Ontario to collaborate in the development of our small modular reactor. The next day, we were in New Brunswick, where Ontario secured a $60 million deal to help improve the nuclear assets of that province, improving the productivity of the Point Lepreau nuclear facility. Madam Speaker, then the next week, we were in Belgium, where we secured a new export opportunity with that government, turning back to nuclear power and signing on with our SMR for potential deployment in that nation and with that ally. Madam Speaker, that builds on our relationships and our contracts in place with Poland and Estonia, 24 SMRs secured to date. I know the Minister of Long-Term Care is excited about the Polish advancement, but Madam Speaker, let us be clear. We're investing in clean tech. We're supporting the supply chain benefits. We're creating jobs, and we're standing up for Canadian workers.
Back to the member for supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for his response. Speaker, families remember the state our energy system was left in after years of Liberal mismanagement. Bills went up, investment went down, and the system was pushed to the breaking point because of a failure of leadership. Speaker, our government is rebuilding what they broke. We are lowering costs, we are improving efficiency, and we are making smart choices that keep energy affordable while building the strong, reliable system people need. Families want to know that the lights will stay on and their energy costs will remain stable as demand grows. Speaker, can the Minister explain how our government is keeping energy affordable while strengthening the reliable system Ontario families depend on?
Response, the Minister of Energy.
Okay. Madam Speaker, this morning I joined the member from Eglinton Lawrence, the Parliamentary Assistant, the Associate Minister, to launch and expand Ontario's Energy Savings Program. This is the largest energy efficiency program in Canadian history, the first phase of which has now already overly achieved our metric of success. We've removed 200 megawatts from the grid, the equivalent of removing a town of 200,000 people. We now, today, announced we're going to be expanding this program to save more money for Ontario families and ratepayers. This program is going to help reduce costs and introduce new rebates for refrigerators and freezers and laundry machines, the appliances everyday families need as we think about the holidays. Our government is committed to reducing bills, reducing the peak demand on the grid, and ultimately reducing emissions. And I think we've achieved the win-win-win outcome here that's going to save families money. They can check out saveonenergy.ca today and save money that they deserve. Thanks so much, Madam Speaker.
Question. I recognize the member for Parkdale High Park.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, through you to the Minister of Labour and Immigration. The Minister's mass rejection of all skilled trade ONIP workers has left hundreds of workers and their families in crisis. More than 200 of them are here today in the galleries and outside. People who followed every rule, paid every fee, built their lives on Ontario's word. And some of them have learned, if you can believe this, through the Freedom of Information requests, that the minister's senior staff already verified their documents, interviewed them, and approved them for nomination before your minister rejected them anyway. To the minister, will this minister look them in the eyes and explain why their lives have been upended despite doing everything right?
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, we need an immigration system with integrity that supports young men and women who want to build a future here. And I recognize, Speaker, that when we had our allocation cut by 50% by the federal government, Speaker, we'd already invited folks to apply. And then when officials look, and we look as a team at the program, Speaker, our skilled trade stream, fewer than 1 in 2 were actually continuing within that career. So we offered the opportunity for those registered in active apprenticeships to apply. They were processed, they were moved through. And for those who've been rejected, Speaker, they also have the employer job offer stream that they can apply through, Speaker. They're still in the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, and they're able to apply through other streams like employer job offer. Citizenship is a privilege, Speaker. Citizenship is not a right. And this side of the House will continue to fight for a robust system with integrity, advocate for expanded allocation and autonomy from the federal government, and find meaningful pathways for people who want to contribute to our economic success.
Back to the member for Parkdale High Park.
Thank you, Speaker. These individuals already have jobs and employers who are counting on them. Speaker, these workers are scared. Their employers are scared. Their families are scared. And now they are facing racist backlash, online and in person, because of the minister's blanket statement. It is unjust and it is profoundly un-Canadian. To the minister, will you commit to reinstate their applications, securing extensions to their work permits, and give each worker the fair individual assessment that they deserve and were promised?
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, when officials see inaccurate payrolls, sudden promotions or job changes without explanation, Speaker, lacking explanation for the background in which they are being trained, 1 and 2 who are staying within that specific career, employment gaps, forged employer letters, we have to take action, Speaker.
For Waterloo,
and for those employers and those workers who have jobs, directly to answer the member opposite, we have a pathway through our employer portal that they can go through today. The employer portal is open and they can go through that portal today, Speaker. Again, citizenship is a privilege, it is not a right, Speaker, and we want to make sure we have meaningful pathways for folks who want to contribute to our economy and for those people who have active job offers and are working in a skilled trade, Speaker, there is the employment portal pathway that they can go through.
From West Ancaster Dundas will come to order. I recognize the member for Beaches East York.
Thank you, Speaker. Last week was so exciting with the big celebration of the 15th birthday of the Eglinton LRT. Should we start a loud round of happy birthday? Should we laugh? Should we cry? Should we pull our hair out? What was happening 15 years ago? Vancouver Winter Olympics? 200 countries signed the Paris Climate Agreement? Rob Ford was elected Mayor of Toronto with the Premier and I? And the Queen's Park pages were not even born. Poor signals, design delays, legal battles, and more have left everyone stranded on Eglinton Avenue. Speaker, my question to the Premier. How can the gravy train work so well when the Eglinton Crosstown can't even open after 15 long years?
Minister of Transportation.
Madam Speaker, for 15 years when they were in government, they did absolutely nothing to build public transit. It was this Premier who put forward a plan to invest over $70 billion in the next 10 years. And guess what? They voted against public transit projects every single time. The record speaks for itself, Madam Speaker. Not a single shovel in the ground, delays and costly contracts like the Crosstown, Madam Speaker, but we're fixing that. We're getting shovels in the ground. The Ontario line will move 400,000 people every single year, Speaker, as it gets put forward. Look at our expansion on GO Transit. Last month, 7.5 million passengers, a combined record that we've set, given the expansion and dollars that we've put into GO Transit. One fare policies, Madam Speaker, that make transit more affordable for the people of this province. A program that those members voted against.
Response.
$1,600 back into the pockets of hardworking families across this province.
Back to the member for Beaches East York.
The world is watching with incredulous eyes. They cannot believe how we could have messed up a vital transit project so badly. Here is a global mobility list for us to compare. Japan, Tokaido Shinkansen, 5 years. Sydney, Australia, Metro Northwest, 5 years. Chile, Santiago Metro Line, 3 years. Vancouver, Canada Line, 4 years. At this point, the Eglinton Crosstown's ratings are so low that they could be eligible for some skills development funding, like all the other failing applicants who received enormous amounts. Speaker, my question to the Premier, will the Eglinton LRT actually open in our lifetime?
Minister of Transportation.
Madam Speaker, we continue to build upon our government's plan to invest in public transit, despite the opposition voting against every single one of those measures, Madam Speaker. I've never seen the opposition members come up and support these projects that we are putting forward that are going to truly transform the way people travel across this province, whether it's policies like one fare, saving individuals $1,600 every single year, whether it's the Ontario line that will move 400,000 people every single day, take cars off the road. The only thing those members have been supporting are policies that have made it difficult to get around this city, like bike lanes, Madam Speaker, on Bloor Avenue, Yonge, Madam Speaker, but we're fixing that. We're reinstating vehicle lanes across the city so we can get this city moving and the province moving as well, Madam Speaker.
Order.
We're going to continue our investment, $70 billion over the next 10 years, despite the opposition to public transit from the members opposite. We made a commitment to build, and that's what we're going to continue to do. get shovels in the ground, build for the future, and ensure that we can get people to where they need to go quicker, faster, in a more productive manner.
Question. I recognize the member for Whitby.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement. Ontario's winters bring a real challenge. Families need safe roads, workers need clear walkways, and businesses need open lots and timely deliveries. And none of that happens, Speaker, by chance. It happens because of the vital contributions of thousands of dedicated professionals who work tirelessly to keep our province moving. These snow and ice workers protect our safety and support our economy. But under the previous Liberal government, these workers faced delay, red tape, and rules that held them back. Our government is working to change that and show them the respect they deserve. Speaker, can the minister explain how our government is helping Ontario's snow and ice professionals so they can keep providing this essential service?
I recognize the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the great member from Whitby for that very good question. And Speaker, under the previous Liberal government, Ontario was weighed down by red tape and delay. That burden fell very heavily on our snow and ice professionals who were held back by slow and unnecessary rules. These workers keep us safe on our winter roads, walkways, and parking lots, and they are the best in the entire world. Their dedicated work keeps communities safe and open and our economy moving. Families, workers, and businesses rely on clear roads for travel, for deliveries, and for essential services. Speaker, our government is exploring new customer protection measures for landscape, snow, and ice management services to ensure safety, quality, and availability across Ontario. And we're doing this in a way that respects the environment while keeping the people of Ontario safe.
Back to the member for Whitby.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for his response and ongoing leadership. Speaker, snow and ice professionals work hard for our province. They clear our roads in the worst weather. They keep people safe. They help our economy run. But for years, they faced too much red tape and too many delays under the previous Liberal government. That made their work harder. It made services less reliable. Speaker, our government is taking a different path. We're cutting barriers. We're improving safety. And we're making sure these workers can keep doing the job people count on them for. Speaker, can the minister share how our government's actions are helping snow and ice professionals deliver safe, reliable services throughout Ontario?
Back to the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement.
Thank you again to the great member from Whitby for a very important question. Speaker, our snow and ice professionals play a vital role in keeping Ontario moving. They work long hours, often in the worst conditions, to keep roads, walkways, and parking lots safe for families and businesses. Their commitment and their work to support our economy and protect our communities. Deliveries arrive on time, services continue without delay, people get where they need to go safely. Speaker, this is why our government is taking action. We are reviewing consumer protection measures to ensure landscape, snow, and ice management services remain safe, reliable, and available in every community across Ontario. And we are doing this while cutting red tape, improving standards, and ensuring Ontario's workers have the tools they need to keep us safe this winter.
I recognize the member for Windsor West.
My question is to the Premier. Windsor families are facing the highest unemployment rate in the country. Major lenders are pulling back from critical investments in Windsor projects amid economic uncertainty. Windsor families are being forced to carry the weight while this government refuses to put forward any real plan, provincial plan, to protect workers, shore up local industry, or support our economy in the face of economic instability. Why has the Premier failed to put forward a provincial plan to stabilize our local economy and protect Windsor families from the fallout of these pressures?
I recognize the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, through you, to the member opposite for that question. You know, just a little while ago, we were in Windsor giving a check to the Mayor of Windsor for meeting their housing targets to build more homes for the people in Windsor. And of course, we're advancing work through the work of Minister of Health on building a new hospital in Windsor. And of course, the interchange to get to the brand new battery plant, and that's created jobs for many more workers at EC Row. We're building highways and interchanges for Windsor. And of course, through the Protect Ontario liquidity, we're providing liquidity supports. In fact, you might hear the commercials as well, $2 billion of WSIB rebates that are flowing right now, including businesses in Windsor. So I would submit to the member opposite, what are you doing for Windsor?
Order. Back to the member for Windsor West.
Speaker, developers are warning that investments are being stalled, housing construction is slowing, and job-creating projects are being put on hold. Windsor's workforce is among the best in Canada, but the economic climate has become so unstable that lenders, including major banks, don't feel confident backing projects in my community. Families are being left to navigate the rising costs and job losses because this government refuses to take economic stability seriously. Just look at what's happening at Titan Tool and Die with their workers, or at Diageo, where they're threatening to pull out of our community. When will the Premier provide a provincial plan to protect Windsor workers, restore investor confidence, and ensure that local projects aren't derailed? And when are they going to address the highest unemployment rates in this province under your watch?
Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, we found some common ground with the opposition. We, too, agree that some of the best workers in North America, I'll say on the planet, are in Windsor, Ontario. So we're in full agreement. In fact, we are supporting our auto sector. We continue to make record investments to support our workers. We're never going to tire supporting our auto workers, not only in Windsor, in Oshawa, in Brampton, in Oakville, in Ingersoll, in Alliston. We're going to support all the great workers, not just in Windsor, all across Ontario. But we're going to do more, Madam Speaker. We're going to make sure that the conditions are there for economic growth so that everyone can participate. That's why we're investing in nuclear and energy. And we've talked about the thousands, the tens of thousands of jobs that'll create, the critical minerals that will create, including Webequie First Nation that we just announced early works to start in June so we can bring prosperity not only to Windsor but to the north. We're going to keep going, Madam Speaker, and hopefully you'll vote for the fall economic statement.
I recognize the member for Toronto St. Paul's.
Madam Speaker, my question is for the President of the Treasury Board. Part of your ministry's responsibility is ensuring that the $2.5 billion Skills Development Fund is managed with rigor, with fairness, and proper oversight. Yet, the public has now learned that numerous high-scoring and top-ranked applications were left underfunded, while medium and low-scoring projects were approved instead, including one ranked poor, meaning it should never have been approved at all. And in the middle of this questionable decision-making, the Treasury Board signed off on nearly $10 million for a company whose owner operates a venue licensed strip club. Can the President explain how, under her watch, high-ranked projects were rejected while a low-ranked project connected to a strip club owner sailed right through the Treasury Board without triggering one single red flag?
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, Speaker, when we assess these projects, as I said, we want to make sure as we're building, as we create a low-tax environment to attract foreign investment, as we build highways like the 413 and the Bradford Bypass, we've got projects that are ready to support a next generation of workers that are going to get the job done. Speaker, I think too, small modular reactors, new nuclear plant we're building, all of these things are happening under this Premier, under this government, so Ontario can stand tall on the world stage. Not just tall, but lead on the world stage. Be energy sufficient. Have enough hospitals to care for our next generation. Have a public transit that not only we can be proud of, but a public transit system for our grandkids, for generations to come. That's the forward-looking plan this Premier's brought to the people of Ontario in January. He said he was going to protect them, protect their workers. That's what we're doing, and we've got training programs to make sure they can land a better job with a bigger paycheck.
Back to the member for Toronto St. Paul's.
Madam Speaker, back to the President of the Treasury Board and back on topic. This is not a one-off mistake. It raises serious concerns about whether political influence, not merit, is driving funding decisions. When high-scoring proposals are denied, when low-scoring and politically connected projects get millions, and when even a grant linked to a strip club is approved without scrutiny, the integrity of the entire review process is in question. Will the President conduct an internal audit of the low-ranking applications to ensure funds were spent properly and explain why Ontarians should trust a system that overlooked so many higher-scoring and well-deserving projects?
Minister of Labour.
Speaker, I know they don't want to get on the topic of building because they don't support it. I know they don't want to get on the topic of manufacturing because they drove out 300,000 manufacturing jobs, Speaker. And let's talk about the project that's referenced. Higher scoring projects, supporting the hospitality sector, Speaker. That's key. Affected during the pandemic, takes the longest to recover, Speaker. We've got to make sure we've got a talent pipeline for all of our key sectors. I know those aren't topics that interest her, manufacturing, automotive, building highways, roads and bridges. They opposed 413 and the Bradford Bypass. Where did that get them in Brampton and Peel region, Speaker? Not very far, nowhere. Because those workers know with those talent pipelines, with the plan to build, we're building a stronger Ontario for future generations, a stronger Ontario we can be proud of. The unions that we're supporting, I mentioned them earlier. I was at the Shop Stewards Seminar, LiUNA 506, and we spoke about steps this government's taken to ensure healthy and safe workplaces, mandatory defibrillators, ensuring naloxone kits on sites, empowering more young women to enter the trades. Thank you, LiUNA Canada, for your leadership to empower our next generation, because their workers know that with this Premier, we got a plan that's putting their workers to work.
Question, I recognize the member for Perth Wellington.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Associate Minister of Small Business. Speaker, Ontario's small businesses are the heart of our communities, including in my beautiful riding of Perth Wellington. They create jobs, drive innovation, and keep our communities strong. But global pressures from inflation and the new U.S. tariffs are putting them at risk. Families and small business owners are under a growing economic pressure. Donald Trump's trade threats are creating real uncertainty for Ontario exporters and supply chains. Ontario can't afford to stand still. We need to stay competitive, protect jobs, and keep costs down. Speaker, can the Associate Minister please explain how our government is supporting small businesses and protecting Ontario jobs from global pressures and threats?
Recognize the Associate Minister of Small Business.
Well, thank you, Speaker. And I want to thank the member from Perth Wellington for the phenomenal work he's doing supporting small businesses in his riding.
Well done, man.
Speaker, as technology continues to evolve, many small business owners struggle to keep up, whether that means adopting e-commerce platforms, improving their data management, or strengthening cybersecurity. Our government recognises that digital transformation is essential for Ontario's small businesses to stay competitive and continue to grow. That's why we've renewed our investment in the Digitalisation Competence Centre, or the DCC, an initiative designed to help small and medium-sized businesses integrate digital tools, strengthen cybersecurity, and increase productivity. Our $7.5 million investment into the DCC will help more businesses boost digital literacy, adopt new technologies and improve productivity through coaching, training and grants. Speaker, by investing in innovation and technology, this Premier and this government is ensuring small businesses remain strong, competitive and future-ready.
Back to the member for Perth Wellington.
Thank you, Speaker, and I want to thank the Associate Minister for her response and her ongoing leadership. Speaker, under the previous Liberal government, small businesses were buried in red tape and higher costs. Speaker, the Liberal philosophy was, if it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. Speaker, I'm proud to be part of a government that took a different approach. We lowered taxes, cut fees, and helped businesses, small businesses in particular, grow. But global inflation and new trade threats mean we must stay focused. Small business owners need a government that has their backs, not one that has their hands in their pockets like the Liberals and NDP did. Speaker, can the Associate Minister please share how our government is continuing to stand up for small businesses and protecting Ontario? Thank you.
Back to the Associate Minister.
Well, thank you again, Speaker, and to the member for the question. Speaker, our government continues to support small business owners through programs like the Digitalisation Competence Centre. This program provides small businesses with access to hands-on expertise, funding and guidance to help them choose and implement the digital tools that will make the biggest impact. Included in our investment is $2.5 million to establish a new retail modernisation project grant to extend programming to retail and provide small businesses with cybersecurity training and education, helping more businesses adopt technologies such as online payment systems, inventory management software, customer relationship management systems, and AI-driven platforms. Speaker, this is exactly how we protect Ontario's economy, by empowering small businesses with the tools they need to thrive in a modern digital world. Through investments like this,